So right now, everybody, you can see, right, on the screen. So I want you guys to take a blank piece of paper right now. The heading is called quadratic equation. Okay, quadratic equation. So take a blank piece, write down quadratic equation, and then I'm going to go through more in depth about quadratic equation.
Okay, go take blank piece.
Okay, the three format types, right? What are the three format types? So the three format types, the first one is called the expanded form format. Okay, so the expanded format is y is equal to ax squared. It can be plus minus bx. It can be plus minus c. Aiden, please mute yourself because I can hear you breathing. Okay. So right now, the first one is expanded form. All right. So there's a disclaimer. I put plus minus, trying to tell you that the coefficient can be plus or minus. Now, the second one, does anybody remember how to get this format?
Algebraic identities.
Sorry?
Algebraic identity.
Not really.
Wait, four-term factorization, is it?
No, three-term factorization.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
What you say?
Quadratic equation, three-term factorization.
Very good. It's the factorized form. And usually, it's the three terms factorization. Very good, Daniel. All right, now the last one, the third one, something familiar that you guys have just learned recently. What format is this?
Is it the
You guys have just learned it only.
completing the square?
Hmm?
Is it completing the square?
Yes, very good. Completing the square. So you can see quadratic can have in three different formats, okay? And what is quadratic, people?
Straight
So
line.
can you see here, quadratic? Quadratic means how does it look like?
A straight line.
It's not a straight line.
Huh?
Straight line is linear.
Oh,
Linear equation is straight line.
curve.
What kind of curve?
U shape.
Very good. Either a U-shaped curve or a
Smiley shape.
N-shaped
Oh,
curve.
yeah, U.
Okay? So quadratic means this is the shape. It's a U shape or a N shape. These are the alphabets. So a U shape or an N shape, how to tell the U shape or N shape is from the coefficient of x square term. Okay, and where to tell the x square term, people? Look here, very important. Do not make your notes yet. Please listen. Can you see here there's an x square already? Now for here, how to get x squared? Because here there's an x times an x. X times an x give me an x squared. Clear so far? And then next here is an x squared. Can you see that? So now you can copy into your notes. And don't forget to color code it also. Okay, so right now we'll do the next one called the calculator trick. Now for the calculator trick, it depends on whether are you using the old calculator or the new calculator. So for the old calculator, you can write it down. Old calculator. We use mode 33. For the new calculator, we use mode 522. Okay, so that is for the calculator trick. Now, the calculator trick, I have something very important to tell you guys, and I hope that you guys are listening. So in your calculator, you will definitely input, like, for example, something x squared plus something x plus something. Then the calculator will tell you the answer, like x is equal to whatever. Then when you press enter, they'll tell you the two answers for x. So right now, when you come to here, there are also three different kind of variations that you will see. The first variation is when you see a integer value. What is an integer value? For example, x is equal to -2. Or like you see numbers like x is equal to 4.5. Not 4.5. For example, like 4. Okay, either integer or like fraction or decimal. Okay, basically it's rational number. So the integer value or a rational value. And what's a rational value? A rational value is example like x is equal to -3.2, or like x is equal to 5.5. So these are rational number. So whenever you see this kind of values, what does it imply? Okay, what does it imply? So it implies that when you see this, you can actually use 3 terms factorization to get the answer. Three-term factorization way of solving. Okay, I give you guys some time to copy. Once you're done, I want you to Zoom chat me and say completed. Then I'll move on. First, so I'm telling you the next one is called irrational value. So guys, what is irrational value?
Is it like 0.33333?
Okay, 0.3333 is actually, it can be placed into a fraction because 0.333 is actually 1/3, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what is irrational value then?
Pi.
Why? Why is so special about pi?
The numbers, the decimals are all random.
Yes, they're all random. You cannot put it as a fraction form, correct? Right?
Wait, I thought pi was 22/7.
No, you put pi in a calculator, you try to put it as a fraction. Can you put as a fraction? Yes or no? Do you try? Can you put it as a fraction? Daniel?
Yeah, I'll try.
Are you able to put it as a fraction?
Cannot.
Cannot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is irrational value. Irrational value, meaning it's like running numbers. You cannot put it as a fraction. So what does it imply? So the only way to do it means you cannot use 3-term factorization way of solving already. Do you all still remember what did we learn recently on how to solve something new that we learned?
A quadratic equation.
Not quadratic equation.
Completing the square.
No.
No, it's the x equals to something. The equation.
It's not quadratic equation. Look carefully. You only get half of the name right. It's not quadratic equation. It's called quadratic what?
Formula.
Yes,
Yeah.
quadratic formula. All right. So right now, I allow you guys to copy the third one. And meanwhile, I'm going to select someone to tell me what is the quadratic formula. Okay, so now the third one is called imaginary numbers. So this is something new in the calculator. So may I know, guys, who is using the old calculator and who is using the new calculator?
Using the new one.
Okay, everybody
Yeah.
using the new one. Okay, can you press mode 522 in your calculator right now? Then can you see there's a x square, x, and a constant number? I want you guys to press 6. Okay, then followed by 1.2. Press 6 first. Then press equal. Then press 1.2. Then now press 3. Then press equal. Now, can you tell me, what do you see here?
-1 plus 7i over 10.
You see -1 plus 7i, right? Over 10. Then press equal again. When you press equal again, what do you see?
-1 minus 7i over 10.
Yes. So right now, I want you guys to take out your highlighter. These imaginary numbers means is this I that you are seeing. Okay? So what does it imply?
Isn't imaginary numbers like complex numbers?
Yes. So imaginary numbers is like complex numbers. It means when you see this I, it means that there is no way you can solve. Okay? So it means that there is no x values. No x values means no solution. So what does it mean for it to be no solution? It means that when you want to draw, the graph will look like that. It'll be above the x-axis or it can be below the x-axis. But the key thing is it does not cut the x-axis. Because if it does not cut the x-axis, there will not be any solution. And this is this is something very important you need to know for E-math and A-math, especially A-math. In A-math, we'll go more in-depth in all this, okay? So for now, we'll just do a brief one like E-math. Then A-math in December, we'll go more in-depth. I'll teach you more in-depth. So forget to highlight this part. Does not cut x-axis means this one. This part here is the x-axis. Okay, it does not touch, it does not cut through. Okay, so now for the next section, right, I'm going to go more in depth in what it means by not cutting the x-axis, but it's still not as in-depth as A-math class, okay? So from now on, I will differentiate and tell you guys the difference between A-math and E-math. So whatever you are learning right now, please do not think that it's just for E-math because you are also learning for A-math. Just that A-math is more in-depth, but I'll remind you guys again in A-math class, okay? So for now, let's take it as whatever we are learning is only purely for E-math. Okay, so now we're going to talk more about solutions and cutting x-axis. So I'm going to clear screen. So right now you can take your highlighter and we're going to go more in-depth in this called solutions. and cutting of x-axis. All right, so what do I mean by solutions and cutting of x-axis? We first go to the quadratic formula. So just now, the only person that I have not selected yet was Yiren. So Yiren, it's your turn right now. Close your eyes and tell us what is the quadratic formula.
X equals negative b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2b.
Yes. Now, this is the quadratic formula. Okay, guys, now I give you guys some time to copy all this down into your notes. Once you are done copying, type quadratic formula into the group chat. I mean the Zoom chat. Okay, so I repeat again, the very important concept that we are learning now, like right now, is called the square root concept. So because right now, I know that most of you guys are taking A math, I'm going to teach you A math, okay? So take note, I'm going to teach both E math and A math right now. So let's start with E math first. So what is square root? Now, we are going more in depth in this square root. Now, whenever you square root, you can only square root 3 types of numbers. Don't copy, listen first. What do I mean by you can only square root 3 types of numbers? You can only square root a
Positive
negative number,
What?
or a 0, or a positive number. Okay? So now, guys, if I would to square root a negative number, what do you notice?
Math error, because if you square root a negative number, right, it can't be plus plus, or minus minus will be also plus.
Yes. So right now, can you see what is this b squared minus 4ac? So we're going to go more in depth in this b squared minus 4ac. It's called the discriminant. Discriminant. This is something you're going to learn in A math. This is A math. AM means A math. Discriminant means b squared minus 4ac. And b squared minus 4ac is telling us the number of solutions is telling us about real roots. Real roots is also the same thing. Oh no. Okay, let me erase the cloud first. And it's telling us about how many times, number of times the x-axis is being cut. So the x-axis can only cut in 3 types again. Either none, it does not cut at all, or it cuts at 1 time, or it cuts at 2 times. All right, so later we'll go more in depth in that for A math. So right now you guys can copy whatever that is on the screen. Okay, so you guys know that we cannot square root a negative number, correct? It will give us a math error. So what does it mean when we see a math error, or we see things like imaginary roots in our calculator? it means that your graph can only look like that. This is how none look like, meaning to say that it does not cut the x-axis at all for the U shape and the N shape. You guys got it? Now, when you square root 0, correct? So guys, let me ask you, plus 0. Yeah, the next one is this one, square root 0. So it's a plus minus square root 0, right? Will give you plus 0 or negative 0. Let me ask you, is plus 0 the same as negative 0?
Yeah.
Yes, it means that it is only one root, meaning to say there's only one solution. So what does one root or one solution means? One root or one solution means it only touches the x-axis at one point. Can you see here? 1 point. Set face also the same thing. It touches only at 1 point. So now we take a highlighter. Math error in blue means no solution. Means you see, does not cut, does not cut. And then next, you take a highlighter, you highlight this. This means one root, one solution means it only cuts at 1 point. Okay, now I give you guys some time to copy all this into your notes before we move on to the last part, that is positive number. Okay, so the last one is positive. So positive means we square root, also there's a plus minus, a positive number. Example, can anybody give me an example?
25.
Okay, example, I square root plus minus square root 25. What does it give me?
5
5.
plus minus 5.
Either 5 or minus 5, right? Now let me ask you, 5 or minus 5, are they the same number? Is 5 the same thing as minus 5?
No.
No, So it means that for here, we actually have 2 roots or 2 solutions. What does it mean to have 2 roots or 2 solutions?
That
So we
means
go back to here.
it touches the x 2 times.
It cuts 1 time, 2 time for the U shape. The N shape is also the same thing. It cuts 1 time, 2 times. Okay? Can you see? It's always focusing on the x-axis. So let me find another color. Here, 2 roots for this one. 1 time, 2 time, 1 time, 2 times. So with that, you guys can make your notes. Okay, so guys, now I'm still on A math. I'm still on A math, okay? I'll go more in-depth in this part here that is called proving. Now, because I have not enough space, okay, let me see whether I can make all this very small. Oh, I can. Ah! Okay, guys, it's not working. Let me try this again. Okay, here, perfect.
Well, like that. No, again.
What?
Nothing. I think only does raise hand and thumbs up. I think that's the only 2.
Okay, guys, we're going to go to discriminant. Now, do remember to make a double copy of this, okay? Meaning to say, have this in your A math file also. Clear so far? Your E math and A math file is separated because your E math is going to be very thick. It's different from A math. Now, we're going to go more on discriminant called proving of discriminant. Now, whenever we want to prove the value of a discriminant, right? We always need it to be in the form of a square term. And guys, anybody can recall? What's the only one way to get a square term that you guys have just learned?
What's that called?
Completing the square.
By what?
Completing the square.
completing
Very
square.
good. So I hope that by now you guys understand my lingo. When in future, I will not be saying completing the square is very long. So I'm going to use this thing called CTS. So when I say CTS, what do I mean by CTS?
The square.
Completing the square.
CTS means completing the square. Okay, now you all can copy.
Yeah.
So right now, what do I mean by doing completing the square? Because, right, there is a very important concept when it comes to a square term. Let me ask you, for example, remember I told you there are 3 types of numbers just now?
Yeah.
What are 3 types of numbers?
Negative, 0, and positive.
Positive. Now, if I were to take a negative number and square it, ultimately, what does it give me?
Positive number.
Positive number. Now, if I take a 0 and square it, ultimately, what does it give me?
0.
A 0. If I take a positive and square it, ultimately, what does it give me? What kind of number?
A positive.
So do you notice something? As long as I have a square term, my answer will always be greater or equal to 0. Clear so far? Guys, are you catching it? Hello, please respond.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good. Now, I want to go more in depth in this. However, okay, there are certain situations whereby sometimes, not all the time, it can be greater or equal to 0. Sometimes it will just be greater than 0. Can someone tell me what's the difference between the first and the second one?
The first one, right, it can also be 0 or more
Yes.
than it. But then the second one is only 0, like above 0. So it's like 1 onwards.
So the second one cannot be 0, right? Correct? That's why the second one is only greater than 0. Correct or not? So you'll be wondering, Miss Lin, how come cannot be equal to 0? So I hope that you guys are not making notes. Listen very carefully because I'm only going to repeat once. Why it cannot be equal to 0 right now? Can everybody take out your calculator? Take out your calculator right now. Have ready? Now, I want you guys to put in 2 divided by 0. What do you get?
Math error.
ME, math error. Negative 4 divided by 0. What do you get?
Math error.
So, right, for this kind of scenario is when you have a fraction. Okay? You have a fraction. Why is it so important? Because for a fraction, the denominator cannot be 0. And we'll go more in depth in A math. We'll do more practices. For now, just write all these keywords down so that next time when you refer to your notes, you'll finally understand what is going on. Okie dokes.